The Two Good Cast discussed Season 3 being delayed, which has everyone wondering what it means for Verdansk. The biggest question of them all is, if Verdansk doesn't do well, could this be the end of Warzone?
I'm ready to cook. No.
If you're gonna mention that your game's delayed, then is it wild of me to expect the game to come out perfect?
This Verdansk has to be as good, if not better, than the Verdansk of old.
I have only played one game in the last 4 months. I think Black Ops 6 has actually done pretty well.
If Verdansk flops, I don't think you will probably see me on Call of Duty again.
Your anti-cheat needs to have no plot holes. Zero. If it underperforms even a little bit, where is the carry? What we getting for the rest of the year?
Oh, that's not all. Over in the CDL, we have seen LA Thieves come out victorious in the Minor 2 competition. But one of the biggest stories right now is Optic's current form. A team that's usually on top, arguably having the roughest time in the organization's history of competitive Call of Duty. It begs the questions from fans asking, can they turn it around in Major 2 with home advantage? Taylor, what's going on, Piggy? Like, why is Kenny just getting absolutely cracked on this season?
Well, they just suck.
When is it ever a better time to talk COD than with the Two Good Cast? Guys, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I don't know what y'all doing looking at this right now. Click on that button on the bottom left corner, bottom right corner, wherever it is on the screen. Make sure you follow, because I can't lie, we've got some saucy topics to get through. Warren, how are you feeling?
Not great. You know, still under recovery after watching Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, no, I know exactly how he feels.
I want to give thanks to God, because that weekend, you know, I kind of was just sat in darkness and just thinking, I never want to take good health for granted again. So just for context, guys, I was having a bit of a drink while watching the Elimination Chamber. In fact, I actually watched it with my mum. She was watching the Diva matches with me. Sorry, I still call them Divas, my bad. Yeah, and we were kind of she was just reminiscing with me of, like, before I was born, how she used to watch the wrestling with my brothers and stuff. And but yeah, I just want to give thanks, because obviously the world is a bit chaotic right now, and there are times where, you know, instead of fueling that negativity, try to push more positivity in the world. And the world needs a love. Like, we need to drench the world with love. So yeah, I just want to give thanks to God, and I'm very happy to be here.
We're glad you're up in good spirits.
Yeah, of course.
You've been worried. You should have seen the DM he dropped in that.
Yeah, I can't lie. I can't lie. For context, yeah, I thought it was because of, well, if you watch Elimination Chamber and you were there till the end, you'll know exactly why. It might have had an adverse effect on myself, but, you know, not to that gravity. But like I said, I'm happy he's okay. He's recovering, and I actually appreciate the fact that you're able to leave that kind of message, because you never know what's going on. We know that the world is in a very chaotic place right now, and not just in one place but a number of places. But I like the fact that we can come together, create content together, and show that there's an element of togetherness, and you know, we're looking to accomplish a lot of things together. So yeah, man, that's the vibe. Now I know Piggy made brief mention of the fact that we've had a bit of a sabbatical. I might need to put my hands up. If you guys know why, you'll have to have a look into the Too Good Live channel at some point in the future to understand why we were gone for so long. And on top of that, you know, Christmas kind of came. We had a few things here and there that I feel like it was a better time to kind of recenter our focus in regards to the podcast and things that we want to put on here for you guys, and ultimately just you know, take some time to reflect on a successful year for us. Obviously, we were able to do our first watch party, an event, and it goes without saying that we want to do a lot more of those things going into this new year. We are obviously in March, and it's funny because March actually is quite a significant month in the Call of Duty calendar. It has been for the last 5 years. I want to say 5 years. It has been 5 years, right, guys?
What, since the startup of Two Good Casts?
No. Okay, they don't know what I'm talking about. 5 years of Warzone, guys. 5 years of Warzone. So,
sorry.
okay, no, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, no. March actually is the annual anniversary. Well, I say anniversary, yearly anniversary of the creation, or the the outlay of Warzone. It's been a interesting 5 years. Obviously, we can reflect on everything here and there. I think we've pretty much done that on the channel as of late. However, something that, you know, we normally don't associate with Warzone, or essentially Call of Duty, is radio silence for new seasons. And well, everybody had seen these leaks on the timeline. Charlie Intel tweeted a few things. The Ghost of Hope, pretty much a 99.9% accurate leaker of all things Call of Duty. Both more or less hinted that Verdansk will be dropping at some point in March. However, what's now happened is Call of Duty obviously gave us an official tweet 2 days ago to suggest that, look guys, season 3 is going to be delayed, without actually saying it's going to be delayed. Their wording, however, you have to give them merit on their wording, because if you're not locked in, then you kind of miss it completely. Just be like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. It was always coming out April 3rd. No.
Yeah, no. If you're somebody who wasn't too sure about when that was dropping and you saw that, you would think, oh, okay, cool, like it's been announced, not really realizing that it's actually been pushed back.
Yeah, because it was meant to drop the same day as Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is March 20th.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the leaked date. I think I'd go back even by saying I would like to have thought that it would have been a 10th of March release, because it's actually the day, the exact day in which Warzone dropped 5 years ago. And a lot of people were speculating that, you know, they're gonna drop something like maybe like in a store, or there'll be like an event or somewhat, and we've only just kind of got to grips with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme around the game. So I did think that it was quite, I wouldn't say funny, but like all of this leaks and information come out of the timeline, you're thinking, okay, that's the set date, and then all of a sudden, boom, nope, we're not going with that date. But yeah, the official tweet says, let's see here. I'm gonna get this on our screen real quick. Give me 2 seconds, guys.
Yeah, damn, man. Look at this.
Okay, it's not that one. It will be, where is my, there we go. Okay, wait. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Nice.
And then I just need to go full screen. Lovely. All right. You guys need to see this in Discord too. Give me a second.
No, sir, I can get up. Just
okay.
To you, right?
Yep. Okay, cool. Right, so the tweet officially says, Season 3 is a big moment for Call of Duty Warzone and Black Ops 6, and we're taking the time to deliver a great experience starting on April 3rd. More to come following Call of Duty Warzone's 5th anniversary next week. So that tells me that it's been delayed, without saying it's been delayed, which is fine. But, you know, radio silence when your biggest, I guess, your biggest thing to date with regards to the complete like collaboration with Black Ops 6 and Warzone tells me that something's going on. There might have been a change of direction. There might have been a few things that have gone on over the period of Christmas till now, and there was nothing definitive. Now, we obviously got told during COD Next that Verdansk will be returning in 2025, spring to be exact. So that was, I think, was always on the cards. But in terms of the later date, I mean, this is going to be our longest season 2, and no one's been happy with season 2. The announcement at season 2 was specifically to say, look, we're targeting all of our focus for a good launch of season 3. Hence why they've done nothing in regards to the I guess the pains that a lot of people are obviously complaining about when it comes to the game. I don't have to talk about the anti-cheat. We've been on that for the last 2.5, 3 years. In terms of bugs and fixes, that realistically by now we're in Q2. I want to say we're just about to start Q2 of the year. By April 3rd, they need to be ironed out. I could go on a list of things as to what's wrong with the game, but I think those that play the game regularly will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it being delayed, I mean, I can give my personal opinion at a later point, because obviously you guys know I play the game. By the way, I have only played one game in the last 4 months. 3 months. So I will talk from an I'm talking from a perspective of watching as opposed to playing as much. But obviously Warren and Piggy have both had a different experience altogether. So Warren, what do you think?
I'm not worried about delays when games are delayed, right? When you when you got Game Pass, you got loads of games.
Okay, buddy. All right, man. All right.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. But in all seriousness, I'm not worried about delays as long as if you're gonna mention that your game's delayed, then is it wild of me to expect the game to come out perfect? I don't know. I feel like a lot of games in this industry are coming out and their launch is not like perfect. You know, there is going to be problems. I don't know if it's because the budget to create these games are so big that there's so many little like intricacies when it comes to servers and all these other things. But I'm not fussed about the delay at all. My biggest concern is Verdansk, right? Because I haven't played Call of Duty in a while now. When console only for ranked dropped, when they added that setting, I came back to play, and I'll be honest with you, thoroughly enjoyed. I'm not gonna boast and say I was doing this, doing that, but I enjoy playing with Xbox people. In fact, yeah, just a little story time here. I was in the game chat, right, and someone was like chatting rubbish to their teammate, and I was just like, I actually put in the game's comm. I was like, just relax, dude. Like, it's just a game, you know. And then everybody else was jumping on that guy to say relax, like it's just a game. And I was just thinking, do you know what? Imagine if the Call of Duty community was like that, like in general, you know, everyone actually enjoyed it. I think it was really hot. I wish I had that recorded, because I have never seen like a lobby come together like that to say to that person, stop getting onto your teammate, it's just a game, you pull your weight. Do you know what I mean? Even they were even saying as well, like, he's only a gold, he's only a silver, like cut them some slack, you know. Anyways, that's beyond the point. Verdansk is make or break for me, I'll be honest. I'm a bit upset because like I said, like, I've played Call of Duty almost all my life, you know. My first Call of Duty was Call of Duty 2. And yeah, like I said, Verdansk is really make or break for me. I don't know if they're gonna like revamp the whole mechanics and stuff, but I'm not fussed about the delay. It's just more on how the game plays at launch. That's what I want, because really and truly, if Call of Duty can, you see how when Call of Duty releases, the first day everyone's playing it. If you can maintain that after releases, then we're onto something here. If there are, obviously cheaters are always going to still be around, but if there is like a smaller percentage of cheaters, like each day, every week, every month, it's somewhat positive, because I want to be positive, because Call of Duty is a game I grew up playing, you know. I love, like, it's my first FPS and all that kind of stuff. But let me just keep it straight. If Verdansk flops, I don't think you'll probably see me on Call of Duty again. Of course, like, it's on Game Pass. I you know, pay for Game Pass, so of course I'll play it here and there. But in terms of content and stuff, it's going to be hard, because how am I going to motivate myself to make content on a game that I don't believe in no more? So it is make or break for me. Okay.
Fair.
Yeah, I haven't got much to add to that until I take up the mic and start talking. Piggy, how we feeling?
On a personal level, I don't really care about the delay personally, because I always said they're not getting this map out where people think they're getting this map out. When people were saying March, I literally thought they were insane, because I don't understand why people thought they'd be able to drop a fully functioning Verdansk. That, like, remember I said, I don't know if I said it on a podcast or I said it off a podcast, but I said that this Verdansk has to be as good, if not better, than the Verdansk of old. People looked at me like I was crazy. Like, of course, like, you can't do that. What we have is an old map that is being used to carry an entire game. Warzone is an entire separate entity, and we are now looking at one map to save the entirety of Warzone. Of course, it has to be as good as the old Warzone, or if not better. Because if it underperforms even a little bit, where is the carry? What we get for the rest of the year? What we get for the rest of the year? It's ish.
Talk to him.
Nothing. Big map is dead. So for me, I don't mind delays, because there's two ways of thinking about it. I would rather a game come out finished and late than on time or early and incomplete.
Yes.
But we are talking about Call of Duty, which is sometimes it doesn't matter how many months they have to work on something. When it releases, they always say there are bugs and there are certain things that happen that they could not account for. So for me, just because you push something back, that doesn't mean that when we get that day one, it's going to be a completely finished product or full package. And I hope people don't expect that, because
I think
upset with
I'm gonna touch on that point as well. Aaron, no, I'm listening.
There's a level of leeway that I will give them day one, week one, even not even just day one, week one, because let's be real, that's how games are. Like, let's not forget the landscape of gaming and releases and bringing things out, and how things are different when you have billions of people on the server at the same time. They can't replicate that.
They can't.
there's a little bit of leeway. However, I agree with Warren where it's like the things that we have asked to be fixed should not be affected by day one bugs. That is, your anti-cheat needs to have no plot holes. Zero. Like, if someone jumps on Verdansk day one and they get hacked on, whether people think it's a bit over-exaggerated or not, that person might never come back to your game. That's how deep it is. If that day what people see, think about season 2 when people jumped on. I saw TP put up a tweet within an hour of the game. Yep, had 5 hackers already.
Yeah.
They said they did something. I'm not saying that they said they got rid of it, but they said they did something. And they kind of experienced it at the same level. So you can't have that happen on day one. It does have to come out very polished.
Yeah.
It does have to come out perfect, but it has to come out polished. And if it doesn't, then I don't know what's going to happen. With me personally on the game, I have other things I enjoy about it. Okay, every time they drop a zombies map, I'm on with another group of people. We're doing it run every single time. We're banging it out. So I still play the game in other ways, even though that only lasts so long. But I still play it.
I mean,
if there's no hackers, I will come back to ranked.
Yeah.
If I don't have to get hacked on, I will actually play multiplayer ranked. But when it comes to Warzone, it really is riding on Verdansk, and I've never agreed with putting all your eggs in that Verdansk basket. Personally, but it seems like that's what they're trying to do.
Yep.
So if that is the case, you have to come damn near perfect.
Yeah.
I'm ready to cook.
That's
I'm ready to cook. Now, let's start with point number 1, right? I don't think it's any secret that on this podcast we've spoken previously about having to look objectively at Black Ops 6 and Warzone separately. In terms of title, in terms of launch or quality of content as per se, I think Black Ops 6 has actually done pretty well. From a zombies perspective, I think they've kept they've actually managed to retain quite a lot of their existing players and also featuring new players because there's such a diverse amount of content going towards zombies upon season that I think is going to keep that fan base or that base of player engaged. I think in terms of maps that have dropped, you've got classics like Hacienda that people have enjoyed the return of from Black Ops 4, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Right. Which, has given, and obviously in terms of like new modes like Overdrive and all this other stuff, like I've played multiplayer more than I have played Warzone, funnily enough, in the last couple of weeks. And then the drops of new guns have been quite consistent, and that's not something that I would normally compare to MW3, but I feel like they've been very like consistent when it comes to giving multiplayer content and zombies content well, and I think I'll give them a hands off for that. The reason I'm bringing that point up and then I refer to Warzone is because we seem to find ourselves in the same sort of position by the time we get to like that second to third quarter of the year, which is we're still fixing bugs from day one. And the problem I have with that is there are a number of studios that are always involved in these bug fixes, and there's been a communication to an extent. And last year, when they didn't get it right, they were very vocal, they were very forthcoming, they spoke to players, they got feedback from community, and they worked on it consistently. And that's why the report felt like it was great. It felt like we were having a good time. Of course, you're going to have your cheaters, but to the degree in which we have our cheaters now, it doesn't seem like it's significantly improved. I think by the time MW3's lifespan had now come to the end and we're now getting prepared for Black Ops 6, the only thing you could complain about categorically was cheaters. You weren't hearing too many people talk about movement, issues with bugs to an extent. I think audio would have probably been the only thing I would have said throughout the time scale. It was a bit difficult. But besides that, I think the game was pretty well polished. Now, removing Warzone from that engine and putting it in with Black Ops 6, again, you're seeing the same thing happen time and time again, right? You're going to now open a whole new can of worms to a game that simply should be, and I will state this later on as well, it should be a standalone, because you've gotten to the point where an old map, a favorite map, mind you, I do not mind this, I want Verdansk to come back and I want it to be great, but you're now having to bring back an old map that is now going to bring back a huge amount of returning players. We're not talking about a small amount that played MW3 or existed but whilst we're playing our Mazra on MW2. We're talking MW19 lockdown, right? There are going to be players that haven't touched or they're about to blow the dust off of their PS4s to go and play that game again, right? And the reality is they're going to either be extremely disappointed or they're going to have a great time. There is no in between, Because as soon as they experience a hacker, they're gonna be like, I'm picking up the same game I played 5 years ago. And realistically, it's not that mechanically it's different, just different. But as devs, you should know that, okay, we had cheaters 5 years ago, and we had to change game engine for us to get rid of those said cheaters. And we've had cheaters since. The only difference is the maps now come back, and the player count, which obviously I think is a W that they've increased it more recently. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the player count significantly reduced now. But I just feel like if we're going off of the fact of nostalgia, which I know a lot of people are happy about, myself included, I'm really happy. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug, guys. But in terms of actually addressing the elephant in the room, I think I'm not angry about the delay. I'm not at all annoyed about the delay. My issue is I know Caldera was delayed, right? And Caldera was a year full of bug fixes. And the reason why I couldn't enjoy it is I didn't actually enjoy how open the map was. I didn't like the center point being peak, but I did like specific areas around the map. So I liked certain POIs, right? Yeah. The issue was mobility around the map because you had to use airplanes, like lorries of different proportions, and you're always going uphill, and that's a fight against a lot of stuff. For one, but two, they then had to use Apex mechanics in terms of balloons to get to and around the map. And I don't think that's very Call of Duty-esque. I think they had to do that to kind of mitigate the damage that they'd already done to the game. By all means, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But what I go back to saying is almost like the reason why that game wasn't successful was because it was poor map design. From my personal opinion. You've now got Verdansk. You cannot allow... And that's not a poor map design, by the way. Verdansk is a very good map design. It's a very good base to how you should build all of your other maps. But in terms of it being a thing that, you know, if we just put it on there on April 3rd and expect everyone to just enjoy it without fixing the key fundamental issues with the game, you lost me, bro.
Yeah, no, that's not how it should work, in my opinion. Nah. I like what you said. The key fundamentals is just having a working game, and then after that, you can work on like POIs and sort out. Like when Caldera dropped, I remember I was just running in the grass, and I fell through the map. Like I don't know if that's me being on console, but I fell through the map. I remember who I was playing with as well. I was playing with K Squeeze, and like I was playing with K Squeeze and IDOT, and I was like, guys, are you seeing this? They're like, nah. I'm like, I'm under the map. And they're like, oh shit, yeah. I'm just thinking, how am I under the map at launch? Like, come on, you know? Yeah. So the thing is, my tolerance levels for games, is really high, right? But a game like Call of Duty, for Call of Duty to push a fan like me away from the game, oh yeah, like you said, I can't reiterate enough. You've got to sort out the key fundamentals of the game. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got to say on that.
I just think, like, just going back to that point as well, it's like, we're 5 years on, where we are now, and Piggy said they are putting all of their eggs into this one basket, right? That happens to be quite literally, it's like saying, you have 6 out of the 7 Dragon Balls, right? And Verdansk is now your 7th Dragon Ball and your wish. And if that wish does not work, all 7 of those Dragon Balls are going to disappear all over the planet. Right, and you got to start from scratch all over again.
Square one, right? It's back to square one.
Now, I don't think Call of Duty should be putting all of their eggs in one basket, right? But if it's a thing where, you know what, we have nothing left, considering they had developments for other stuff, which we'll talk about later. I think it's a very dangerous game to play, and not so much with your existing fan base, but the fan base you hope to bring back as well, because us as guys that have played the game for X amount of time since lockdown, it's like, for me, I can take it. Like, it's not a thing where I can now say, oh, I won't play anything else. I think I'm in a position now where I'm actually open to playing quite a lot of stuff. I've had a well over time playing Monster Hunter Wilds. But it gets to the point where, like, us as content creators, we want to push content out for your game. If we're not pushing content out for your game and it's not positive, the people that you're hoping to return aren't even going to see it. It's not going to come up on their FYP. It's not going to come up on their interest or topics that are going on their TikTok or on their Instagram or on their YouTube. Let's talk much less about Twitter or X. You know, those things matter. They actually matter, because we talk about when Verdansk dropped, there was no promo behind that game. Verdansk Warzone 1, when it dropped, it had no promo, right? Yeah. I think the only promotion it had was an email saying on March the 9th we're going to be dropping Warzone. March 10th came and everyone dropped on it. That was it. Yeah. That was literally it, because MW19 already had it so like audio. People are figuring out, okay, look, something new's coming around the horizon, and then we were locked in for a month at that time, and it's like, oh my god, this is the best game we've ever played since Slice Cake. Now, radio silence. You drop a message, you need an extra month. In that month, I'm just gonna state for the record, I am not expecting you to come out with no bugs, right? I'm not stupid, right? Even bloody Monster Hunter Wilds has bugs, bro, but it's a very good game, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, and I enjoy the game to the point where the bugs, the issues that they have, I'm gonna, they'll fix it when it's necessary or when they find the time to do so. I'm not gonna be annoyed with that. Again, going back to the issue that we spoke about, Warren, is if you address the key fundamental issues, which were an anti-cheat that actually is active and operating, and it seems as if you switched it off over the last 3 months, and then you've got the issue in regards to server stability, which I know has been quite a common, I say misconception, because people talk about tick rate and all this other stuff that matter. Honest to God, look, if you want to find servers that work, have a look at pretty much any long-standing FPS. I know Halo didn't have any issues with their servers. I'm pretty sure Apex Legends in some way, shape or form have had consistency before inconsistency. Just find a formula that works and doesn't cause like crashes. And for the love of God, once you ban these cheaters, or when you figure out what the issue of these cheaters, don't allow them to close lobbies. If they do that on Verdansk with 150 players, I promise you, you're gonna lose your player base very quickly. Yeah. But yeah, that kind of.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like there's that's one half. It's like, this is, we're talking about fixing your game, because it also affects, it's not just Verdansk, but these are all changes that have to come to every other map that's in the game. Like everything you just said, it's not just about, oh, Verdansk can't drop with these issues. Every other map has to now no longer have these problems as well, on top of that. So that's like one side of it. And the other side of it is like what they do with Verdansk, because it's almost like what do we want now? Because in my opinion, I see this, if they're going to put all their eggs in this basket, I see it as a fresh start. I don't see it as, Warzone has not been around long enough to grip people just off nostalgia. You can't do that after 5 years. It's not enough. It's not enough nostalgia. It hasn't built up long enough. You're not talking about 30-year-olds that played the game 10 years ago and they're gonna come just because it's their childhood game. This is 5 years. People are very much still in the same generation. So
indeed.
In my opinion, it has to also revolutionize what Verdansk was.
Okay.
With all the knowledge that they have from that works with Warzone, from all the things that didn't work that they implemented that we want gone. It's about making all of the changes. We talk about like respawn balloons and
we're gonna get into it. Yeah, no, carry on.
And gulag tokens, all these things that most people actually don't really want, especially in bitmap. What you do with Resurgence and things, and like, with Resurgence is your business. Maybe you want to keep it in that because they are a bit more of a party game mode, in my opinion. But for bitmap, their whole ideal around what bitmap was Blackout and Modern Warfare 2019 Warzone. That was the rawest, like closest to Call of Duty's idea of a battle royale. We've gone so far from that, but if they bring back Verdansk without all of that included, it's not going to feel like Verdansk. Verdansk didn't have any of this, and we loved it.
I think just to kind of hit it on head, I know we watched whose reaction was it? I think we watched Repulse's video. I do think we still need to do a reaction for that. Y'all see that on the Too Good Cast at some point soon. But it kind of details quite a lot of the things that have happened over the course of Warzone's history. And effectively it's now become a thing where there was kind of like a period where big map wasn't a favorable option within the community, and a lot of people were more hesitant to play bigger map, and they lent more towards Rebirth. And I think the numbers that Rebirth were pulling in at a very good time, because Rebirth Island was great, Alcatraz reincarnated. However, it kind of takes away from the perspective of what true BR feels like. The problem that we then had was people, and I think Piggy's been speaking about this for like 3 or 4 years, by the way. So I'm just gonna have to put this sound effect in. Right. She's been thinking about this for 3.5 years here, where it's a thing where the problem with this current era of Warzone, or specifically Resurgence, is that nobody is valuing or playing their life. They know that there's going to be a mechanic to come back and allow them to then restructure. or reposition or re-strategize. My issue with that is there was once a time where they had both and they didn't interfere with one another. But because of poor map mechanics, they felt, okay, yeah, or poor map design, they think, okay, yeah, you know what, Urzikstan's too big. Let's just throw all of this stuff in here to kind of keep the rotation or all this other stuff going on to kind of keep fights and engagements tight. The funny thing is they put 150 players in and hardly any of that stuff matters now. They don't need to have all of these redeploy tokens, gulag tokens, flares, all this other stuff. Like, it's cheese. I'd like to think, yeah, because I've obviously watched 2 of the last 3 World Series of Warzones, right? And a majority of those, the last 2 have been heavy on redeploy flares, all this other stuff, like all of these like regain tactics that people obviously have had to kind of adhere to in order for them to get some form of an advantage over the opposite player. My issue is, if you look at that, if you remove all of those things, I actually think people would have looked at this game as more of an esport as it actually has, somewhat tried to be. And I think I just look back at what Verdansk was, and look, to the dads that aren't playing anymore, that, during lockdown they could, pop a fart, have a bag of chips, pick up their controller, have a can of beer and play with their buddies, yeah. We've gone so far away from a casual, like, genuinely speaking, like, we've gone so far away from that to the point where, like, they're thinking, what the fuck is a redeploy token? Like, anybody that hasn't touched a game in 3 or 4 years is going to go and load up that game during Verdansk, and they're going to think, if they have a redeploy token on that and they see what it does, they're going to turn off the game, bro. You have to go back to the core mechanics.
The perk packages now.
I think the devs, yeah, just going off what you said, actually, yeah. Like, I remember Ebates he tweeted, do you know, it came up on my For You. I don't actually follow him, but shout out Ebates anyway.
My guy.
He made a tweet that said, like, this is what he wants for that. It's like a wish list, basically, yeah.
Yep.
And, I think the devs really underestimated how simple Warzone Battle Royale was when it first dropped.
Yeah.
Because you did, like you said, you didn't have those redeploy tokens. I'm even trying to think now, like, what was the only thing I can think of was that game mode. What was it? Where you started off with like 15k or something, or what was that called?
Or plunder, or payload.
No, not payload. You guys know what I'm talking about. You guys definitely know what I'm talking about.
What do you call it?
Remember
no, buybacks.
Just go to a buy station. Buybacks.
Yeah.
Yes. Now that was a good addition. I enjoyed that because it had a different flow to the game.
Exactly.
Instead of looting up, getting cash, whatever, and then getting your loadout, it was a straight to the buy station, get your loadout, and let's get busy kind of thing. You know what
exactly.
I mean? It added a different pace into the game, which is okay. That's fine. I'm happy with that. Yeah. But the balloons, the redeploy tokens, all that kind of stuff, like I said, I can adapt to that kind of stuff, right? But I do prefer the game in its simplistic nature, which was when they first dropped, because it was more fun. I actually pushed myself out of the comfort zone to get good at this game because I had to. Like, the game forced me to get good. And I prefer it like that. Simplicity is key.
In a way, I guess we are already moving on to kind of like the future Warzone / season 3 wish list, because I guess they kind of go hand in hand. If people don't get what is on their wish list, then the future of Warzone and the potential for a Warzone 3 is under question. Right?
Which has actually been reported.
Should we do like a one each? So like, all put a.
I think you can give one or two. I don't see why not.
I feel like we have a few that's the same.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I feel like we would all agree that we don't need gulag tokens, redeploy tokens, flare.
Get them out. Any form.
So on my wish list is something that I kind of got from Apex. So instead of picking up a gun that's already equipped, can we put attachments as floor loot, please? Like, can we actually have a game where instead of opening a loot box and getting a gun that's equipped with 3 attachments, or can we just get like a base gun, for example, and then let's say in that loot box is extended mags. Okay, I've got no sight or whatever, but I've got bullets. I'll take that. Or let's just say I've got a base gun, but I've got an extra barrel that came out that loot box. Okay, so I've got damage range. I'll take that. Do you know that? I think that would be more fun, and I think it would also increase the retention of players as well, because there might be an addictive feel to it. Like with Apex, for example, I was always like experimenting with different weapons because of the attachments and the weapons you would get. Like, for example, some people would get like a crazy weapon out of the box, and they'll probably keep that until, I don't know,
Endgame.
Endgame, for example. Like, and I just don't, I don't really mess with that, to be honest. I think the game there needs to be like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a development kind of thing in the game. Like, you shouldn't just be able to just land in and then get busy, you know? Even those that are really good at Call of Duty need to have like a skill gap for them, like for themselves as well, which means that if you come up against a player who may not be as good as you, but if he's got a better weapon because he's found extended mag, stock, barrel, all that kind of stuff, you should die. Obviously not all the time, because your gun might be better, but it's just the fact that the different dynamic in gunfights can alter. Just because you're good doesn't mean that you're instantly going to kill me, because my gun could actually potentially be better than yours due to the attachments on it. Do you know what I'm saying? So because you have no attachments, regardless of your skill, you shouldn't be able to just gun me so easily. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of on my wish list. I kind of want base weapons just scratched, and then we loot extended mags, barrels, optics, stocks, you name it, you know? So that's just what I want.
I have one thing.
Blackout.
Go on.
I just feel like to sum up.
Yeah.
You want the blackout.
Yeah. The way I look at it is,
this is something I also agree with. So I just want to put that out there.
A blackout 2 is not out of the question. Right? Let's just state that. Let's address that real quick. I think, kind of going off of that, it's important to remember, and the thing is, I feel like you can have this two ways. Like, you can go with the furthest extreme and go towards that direction, but then you miss the initial presence of why the returning players might want to come back, because one, you are returning to a map you've played before, but two, they might have an element of loadouts, which obviously is the unique selling point for Warzone compared to other BRs. Now, I'm not against it. I'd like to see what things could be like if they were to do it, if they did it temporarily, to kind of have like a separate playlist for that. That'd be great. I actually wouldn't mind trying that at all. My thing would be, as much as I'm an existing player or someone that plays the game frequently, I'm still very cautious of how you're going to actually appeal to the returning players that haven't played for 4 or 5 years. There needs to be a way in which they have guns, because I can also tell you, if they drop Verdansk as it is now with the guns that we currently have in the game, and of course I know that there's some returning guns that I would love to see, that those returning players are going to need some form of loadout or a gun, or even a default gun that actually competes with the current meta. If they can even do that, that would be great, because at least they'll have a feel for the gun, or like a feel for a number of guns. So there could be a meta sniper, meta AR, SMG, LMG, whatever. Like, they have a variety to pick from, and it has the right attachments, so they don't necessarily have to go to create a class and create a loadout. If they've got the attachments from leveling the gun from the default class, then they can go ahead and then change things after they've maxed level. But for the general player base, I think that has to be a thing where they need to kind of incorporate that, because there's going to be people that haven't played the game since like MW2, and MW2 guns are in the game, but they just decided, you know what, I'm packing this up, don't care about the camera grind, don't even care about the MZ, don't want to play the game. They're not going to play on April 3rd, and it's going to be like, well, I have no guns to use. We have to be able to eliminate that possibility for them immediately. I don't know how many people have bought Black Ops 6 that are playing Warzone. If they're not playing Warzone and they have Black Ops 6 and they've got max level guns, by all means, remove my current statement. But I think a wish list would be for us to cater towards that population of players, because that's what's going to be able to fill up those 150 lobbies that we want to see come back and flow quite thoroughly. Because I'm not going to lie, I've watched 150 gameplay off of VERDANSK, and I can tell you that a lot more people are having fun with that game right now. So if you're having a returning player base come back, they need to be able to run around and gunny. I would also like to see the heartbeat sensor come back, in a sense, just to kind of see how, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to use it, but it's just the fact that, you know, everyone's kind of gone off with the whole stims, smokes. I don't know how all of this other stuff will go.
Smokes I'm not fussed about, but stims was exploited like badly, because that's just meant to get your health up like real quick, but the whole speed boost thing and using it to aid you in gunfights and stuff was cheese. I don't like that at all.
Yeah. So I'd like to see some form of like old school. I say old school, but like very good use of like high IQ plays with like stuns or smokes or semtexes and like explosive. Like go back to the stuff that we used to do in Verdansk, really, pretty much, really, because I think stims are more so in Rebirth, but the fact that you could use them in like big map situations kind of just it mitigated the whole point of using them in the first place. But yeah, besides that, I think the only thing I would like to see, yeah, I think I guess we can all agree any form of like redeployability or whatever. One life is one life, bro.
One life is one life, man. You either tee up in the gulag or wait for your teammate to revive.
Yeah,
simple as.
And I know you brought up something else that I would like to see. Bring back buybacks. If you're gonna have 150 players and you want to test the constraints of your 150 player lobbies, and you want to push it back to the 200 that you had for a period of time, bring back buybacks. I think not only just for content, but like it's again a different flow of game. The pace of the game is completely different. Players' mindsets as well, like especially on Verdansk, man. I just feel like you couldn't do it properly on the likes of Al Mazrah and Urzik, and that's fine, but you've got to be able to appease the current player base as well as the previous, and I think that kind of tackles that as well. But yeah, Piggy.
Mine's pretty simple. It's just a combination of what everyone said. Just strip it back.
Yep.
Like I don't need any. The thing is, what I want. My wish list is less stuff. Like I have nothing to add to the list. I want to take away what's already on the list. That's my wish list.
Okay.
I would like them to strip it all the way back, because people can sit here and say that, you know, they added redeploys for this reason, they added stims for this reason, and it all adds to the fun of the game. But we are here a couple years later after adding all these things, and people are not enjoying it. Like, that is the reality and fact of the matter. Everything that you have added has not saved your game. It hasn't. So where is the justification of like, no, this is for the casuals, oh no, but this is for the sweats, so this is to bring back movement, and all of it hasn't helped. Like you're just doing too much. Like, strip it back, get rid of all the extra fluff. I'm not saying bring back Verdansk fully as it was when it first dropped, because there were issues. There was things like, you know, visual clutter, even the stuff with the loot didn't look great. The UI wasn't. Obviously, don't bring back just OG Verdansk the way that you had it. Update it with the UI that you have now, which I think is a lot better, and give it a modern spin that Black Ops 6 already has, but with all the extra features, take it away. Almost make it feel like it's a hardcore game mode now, because that's what it should have been in the first place. It was always meant to be a battle royale. Make it a battle royale. Like, you have Resurgence for all of these extra gimmicky things. That's why you have separate modes. Like, it's the same thing that, unfortunately, I have to point out, is happening in Apex Legends, where they've done the opposite and people are not happy. Like, if you don't play ranked, you are never going to get that OG BR feeling anymore, because they're putting all of the... And I'll give Apex a bit of leeway, because we don't have a Resurgence mode. We just have, like, mixed, which is like team deathmatch and whatnot.
Unlimited time modes.
When you put things from your unlimited time modes, and when you put things from your secondary game modes into your primary, you lose your identity completely. And this is the issue that I have had with Big Map, period. It never has felt different. It's just a bigger map. That's why we just now call it Big Map, because there's just only difference. It's just a bigger map, but it's the same stuff that you find if I'm playing Resurgence, and people would rather play that because it makes more sense for that game mode. I just want Verdansk to feel a lot more... I'll be real, just lead into the nostalgia of what it was like. And if you find that, you know, people are starting to get bored, or not even bored, but it starts to get stale, that's when you start to reintroduce other things, or maybe even reintroduce, like, not even reintroduce, but introduce new things specifically for Verdansk, to try and keep that still a relatively competitive game mode. Because this is what people are going to be playing comp on, hopefully. Like, we're talking about Warzone here. Like, we don't need 3 different big Warzone maps for comp every year. Like, people don't necessarily want that. 1 or 2 is fine. Keep 1 as a staple, and then start bringing in one or 2 every year, and choosing 1 to use for competitive and for ranked play. Like, make that your foundation. That's like, okay, this is who we are, and now we're going to just build on top of it. We're not going to change it. We're just going to build blocks on it to make the overall experience better. That's like 150 players is the way to go. That's why we have to shout them out. They clearly have recognized that all the things that people were complaining about with Big Map, and it's feeling slow, and the things they've done to force engagements could have been fixed by just dropping 50 more players in that map. And that's clearly what they've gone back to doing. So that alone will show you don't need half of these things you put into the game. So my wish list is take it all back. Take it all away.
Yep.
Give Verdansk the way that I remember it.
Yep.
And then use everything that you have learned from the feedback of your community over 5 years to make the best changes possible, because you know exactly what to do. We've told you, people have made YouTube videos about it for the past how many years. You have, creators that are in your close circle Activision, you know what to do, but use this as a bare bones way of doing it.
Yep.
I totally agree. I think one more thing as well I just want to add is map rotations as well. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't mind like every half hour or so, or just give us like 2 battle royale maps where we can. That's just unlimited. There's no time limit. You know.
One thing I will take as well. Yeah. This is going to be a bit of a grain of salt. But like, can you remember in Mazra where they had 2 circles combining at one point? So they had convergent circles. I think that'd be interesting to see what would happen on Verdansk, because obviously we only had that one period where like it'd be either far east or far south. There wouldn't really be like a central finish. It'd be interesting to see if they can actually, like, this is what I'm saying, like in terms of new introductions, that'd be nice to see on an older map and see how it plays.
I think that'll definitely be a good implementation, especially for comp as well, because it will push players to actually use that brain of theirs and make rotations and all that jazz. So definitely that'll be a good idea.
Season 3 wish list. Go on.
There's all hopes. No, I'm saying there's
yeah, no, for sure. I would like. I think it's an interesting topic to talk about Warzone 3, because whilst we have this wish list and we want to have high hopes for the map, being like the savior of Warzone, I think there's a reality. There's 2 realities, right? It's either not going to go well, it's going to go really, really well, right? The other thing that we need to obviously focus on is if it does not go well. The hypotheticals here are crazy because there's an actual possibility of this. If it does not go well, according to the Ghost of Hope, apparently this will be the end of Warzone, at least in terms of how people might read it. Now, I think, is Warzone still going to be alive? Yes. Do I think they're going to now cater it towards another engine? No. Do I think that's a good thing? Possibly. The reason I say that is because if you look closely, Warzone 1 was on an engine, Warzone 2's been on 3 engines, or 3, it's been on another engine but with 3 titles. And the reality is there needs to be a stop to having a combination or like some form of like glue that they have towards having Warzone and the next new game coming up. By all means, if there is an engine that caters towards all and you're able to implement the guns from existing title or new title or whatever, by all means, do that. But if it means that Warzone has to have a poor year in order for it to have that complete detachment, I'm not saying I'm for it, but if there's a way that it can be successful and they do it, by all means, strip it away from the multiplayer game or from the core base of the game and have it as it's standalone, as it's supposed to be, because then your devs don't have to work as hard. They can work harder and actually produce better quality content. They can focus on the anti-cheat. They can focus on like new content per every so often, every quarter. There is a dedicated team to deal with that. But like, if you're asking for Raven Software to do this, Sledgehammer to do that, Infinity Ward to do this, and then TREYARCH to do that, it becomes tedious, and then you're having to remove things and then do damage limitation because it has its own issues. I think if you strip away from that and just keep it simple, doesn't have to be connected to the new game. I know that we've seen leaks of MW4 and Call of Duty 2025 in regards to what that might be. Try not to have it attached to the game. I don't know how else to kind of like stress that enough. I think developmental wise, it obviously is going to cause quite a bit of an upstir because people are working either in one studio or another studio. It might just require that I don't know. I've seen stuff in regards to gaming in regards to people having to like vacate their job in order for them to actually downsize. I don't know how it works. I don't want anybody to lose a job, etc. I've seen a few stuff on the timeline here and there. But there needs to be a conversation. A conversation needs to be had in that regard. Yeah,
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, we just have to wait and see. Like, there's not much more. They haven't given us any information to go off right now. We have to wait for that season 3 roadmap.
Yep.
And then we'll be able to really, I guess, talk about what we think the implications of what they're going to say, what they're saying they're going to add
I mean, all of
what it's gonna do really. So
all of this, and we seem to have, well, I say we've left it out, but I think it's not as important. I mean, it's important, but just not as important because the game needs to play well. But they are looking at bringing back the Kilo, the Grau, the AMAX, and the HDR. Those files have all been found on the
when I heard that,
yeah.
But a part of me still thinks I don't care.
Yeah, here's my thing.
Like, we're gonna bring back this guy. I don't really like. It doesn't matter to me unless the game is actually working properly.
Yeah.
Then we can
Simply.
different.
Simply.
That's what I'm saying.
Even not even being leaked, I feel like it's a bummer because it's just like, yo, like I got all the expectations in the world and nothing to actually look forward to. Like I just sit there like, I just hope it's good. It's just like, yeah, like that will be great, and that leans into me saying I want very close to like OG Verdansk back in some ways.
Yeah.
But again, it's like it still doesn't quite matter to me. I want to see how they lay that roadmap out, exactly what gets the most attention.
Yeah.
You know, are they putting most of it into BR, or is it gonna be like, oh yeah, a little bit, we got Verdansk, and then it's just empty, and then it's just back to Resurgence. Like I want to see more from them.
I think there was some stuff regarding Resurgence, specifically speaking about a number of maps being pulled back into the loop. So I've seen files on Vondel and Fortunes. I know people have kind of gotten annoyed with Rebirth as a whole, and Area 99 hasn't been received as well. I think competitively and in tournaments there hasn't been that much of an uproar regarding it, but I think the casual player base have kind of just been like, Area 99, it is what it is. Rebirth, I'm tired of it. I want to try something different. I mean, Wonder and Fortunes they've all had success in their own right. I do feel like that again, it's necessary. I think you can't, as much as you want to put all your eggs in a Verdansk basket, you have to also be able to cater towards the other audience, because then you're gonna then open, and again, I keep talking about can of worms here, but you're gonna open another set of problems. So being able to address both for season 3 would be very, very much a W in their regard. But yeah, we need to move on because there's been, ongoing drama. I know I don't want to speak too much on the fantasy league because y'all going to talk about it, and my position right now is actually quite, but let's start with CDL minor 2. Guys, how are we feeling? I know I'm not feeling great, but y'all,
the CDO is insane.
Yeah, the CDO's popping off right now, I must admit. Definitely enjoying, I'm immersed first and foremost, and I'm enjoying my viewer experience watching the CDL this season. Major 1, if I summarize Major 1, who won Major 1 again, Piggy? I completely forgot.
I want to say FaZe. It was FaZe versus Thieves, Draws versus Scrap, Draws takes it.
Oh, yes, FaZe. Yeah, yeah, it's just good. It's just really good, isn't it? Because it's kind of giving me the Cold War season vibes, where FaZe is kind of like, they're looking like the team to beat, Yeah. And I think it's safe to say that, considering their direct rivals, Optic, just being completely in the mud. But if you want anybody to analyze that Optic team, Piggy, because Piggy, can you explain what's going on at Optic right now? Because being a FaZe fanboy, you know what I'm saying. But tell her what's going on, Piggy. Like, why is Kenny just getting absolutely crapped on this season?
Oh, they just suck, like, don't they? It's really that simple. Like, it's not. You know what? It is Kenny. And the reason why Kenny is a bit worrisome is because there was a period during Modern Warfare 3 that people were talking about Kenny like, he needs to step up a bit, and he did. But I don't think he's meshing with this game at all. He's doing like a lot of like everyone's noticed it's the overly YYing, running into gunfights that he's not.
He's still doing that.
He's still doing it in this game, and he looks just very frantic. Like he just looks like, it's weird because he's meant to be the leader of the team, quote unquote. Obviously, everyone calls plays, but I've always seen Kenny as quite a composed player who doesn't. He's really fast. Like he moves like he's frantic, but if you really pay attention to him, no movement is actually wasted. Usually, when Kenny's on point, like why he's doing all these things. Like he's constantly thinking. But in this game right now, it doesn't actually look like he knows what's happening, which is really weird from his gameplay. Obviously, I'm not saying that's what is happening with him. But when you have one of your ARs that are moving like that when they're supposed to be building some type of structure. I can imagine it can be very hard for everybody else. But it wasn't just him that was struggling. Dashi's had some really, really bad series as well.
Yeah.
If you don't expect from him. He's not the worst by any means, but he has been a little bit inconsistent. I wouldn't say Shotzi's been that much of a problem. He's just like not playing as great. But I mean, the team, it's more of like a teamwork. Like there's no point picking out individuals in terms of like why things are going wrong. It's a team thing. They don't look on the same page. They're not doing things together. And these are things that we've spoken about with Optic a lot. Like when they're not playing well, it's the same reasons. It's literally the same reasons every time. They're not playing as a team. They're going and flooding one by one. They're not actually waiting for each other and making a good game plan. Their holds are very, very lackluster. Everyone's on an island and no one's like really watching for each other. So they just start getting picked. They get broken really easily. Like it's always the same issues. Like I feel like every time they have a bad spell, even with like, was it Major 4 last year when they got 12? It's literally specifically the same phrases people are using to describe what their problem is. And because they fixed it before, I feel like they can fix it again. But it's more so to do with the fact that it hasn't been this bad before. And they don't have all the time in the world. Like people are looking at them like, boy, we don't even know if they can beat Falcons convincingly. Like they did in minor 2, but that wasn't even a sure match. Like people are looking at that like that might be Falcons' first win, and it wasn't fully easy for them either. So yeah, it's just interesting. I'll say the overall consensus is people are saying they either need to make a team change, or they need to swap roles. And basically it's like Kenny might have to switch to a flex. Not a flex, sorry, he might have to switch to well, what was it actually? There was a couple iterations of Optic. I think one was picking up Luke, getting rid of Kenny. Pred goes on the flex. Luke is the second SMG. I don't actually mind that. I don't know how.
That don't sound bad to be fair on paper.
Yeah, it's like everyone's using AOs and SMGs on every map anyway, so it's like roles are a bit whatever, but. And then I think someone floated the idea of Kenny going to SMG because he actually can play that role. He just doesn't. But I don't know. I don't know how a role swap in this
fixes
scenario
this.
so much because he's still the same type of player. Do you know what I mean? For me, I'm not saying like just drop Kenny. He's the issue. I think it will be a little bit unfair too. But there is no one else you can drop on Optic. Everyone else is like literally like Glot for life.
Yeah.
You know about that brand, like. So it would be picking up a Hook and dropping a Kenny. And trying it that way because they don't have it. Like, I'll be real, one stage is long enough for you to realize if your team is going to work or not. I'll be so real.
Yep.
The qualifiers, minor and a major, if you can't make any type of change after that, like I don't know what your excuse is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what your excuse is. Like, no, I'm not even saying a team change, just a role change. Something has to change. So I'm gonna assume they're gonna stick with the same team for the major. It's their major as well, so. I'll be real. If they perform badly at Major 2, I see Kenny getting dropped. I see Kenny getting dropped straight away. But it's sad. It's weird. It's kind of like
it's a weird spot to be in.
It's not funny, but as a, for my fantasy league, it is funny because I don't have any.
It's not for me. It's never been funny for me, boy. I actually have Kenny on my team.
You have to remember this long for you.
Yeah, bench that boy.
Boy.
I'm just mostly looking at the attitude towards it because there was a clip that came out where they were basically saying, everyone's become an analyst. Every time Optic does a deal, everyone comes out the woodworks. And the names that were mentioned was like Crim6 and Enable, which they got a lot of backlash for that because it's like you just said Crim6 is becoming like an analyst, like he hasn't won the most tournaments in the franchise you're in. Like, I don't know, that kind of, or like Cody's attitude when they lost with Hook and he was bringing up the map and he was like pointing out all the things that Hook did wrong. Meanwhile, the same map was when he wanted a 16 death streak and he glazed over it. That's why I'm like, I think people are looking at Kenny because his attitude specifically is very much like, blame this person, blame that person. Oh, you lot don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't spell to me that you're actually trying to fix your problem. So if his attitude doesn't change, I think he needs to get dropped.
I got a question. It's definitely an unpopular opinion, but do you think the Black Ops 6 mechanics has like boosted all the players' egos? Like, do they think that they could just take the game by the scruff of its neck kind of thing? Do you think that's because I think that could be a reason as to why some teams might just lack a little bit of team cohesion? I'm not even just talking about Optic. I'm speaking on a general basis because the way the mechanics are, it looks like you could take the game by the scruff of its neck. It looks like you could clean up a 1v4 in a search and destroy because you can just finesse the movement, all that kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. So do you think that gives players a serious ego push there? Or do you just think it's actually just down to the team cohesion?
I think it's team cohesion.
I think it rightfully does a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, because this game, it rewards people for being just really, you just run. Like, obviously you run and you think, but this game is really, like, you see teams with a lot of aggression, especially from their subs. When the whole team is kind of moving 100 miles per hour, those are the best teams at the game right now. Like, pacing is a big thing. So I think, like, Omni movement and the way that Black Ops 6 is, it does give people this, like, ego, like, I could chow anything, like, kind of thing. And I think
that's why I asked.
Yeah, you actually need, and I think you need your whole team to feel like that. And it's almost like with Modern Warfare 3, like, don't get me wrong, it was a slightly different game in terms of pacing, but like Optic and FaZe, I feel like, and even these, I feel like they all had that attitude around each other where it's like we trust all our teammates to be on the same page. We are running people down. Like, and when your whole team is doing that, it's great. But when some of you think like that and some of you aren't thinking like that, there is a lack of cohesion. Like you said, there's a massive disconnect. And I don't want to say it's not even a chemistry thing. Like, oh, we're not playing well with each other. It's just like you're not playing as a team. You're not doing anything together. You're doing things as individuals and as cells. It's like, I don't know if it's a trust thing with some teams that are struggling. I don't know what the exact issue is, but it's very clear that the teams that are doing well are very similar. They just play together, and they know each other's strengths and stuff. Exactly, and they actually take more risks. They end up taking more risks that pay off because they feel comfortable to do so. They don't hesitate as much. But yeah, I mean,
going into minor 2 then, seeing as we've covered the Kenny and Optic Woes. minor 2, who impressed you? Player, team? Timo and Piggy, obviously, open question.
Be honest.
So for me, it was Rocker. Like, so obviously in the fantasy league, I put Nero and Estriel in my team, right? Because when I was watching them, I can't. It must have been Black Ops 6 for me to have the idea of putting them in my team, or I saw them on the back end of the last game. Yep. Yeah. So I think it was the back end of the previous COD, and I think that pick from me is super clutch because I think they are the next best duo currently. Like, okay, no, they're the most informed duo at the moment compared to the Tiny Terrors.
You just say Rocker. Are they both in Rocker?
They're both in Rocker, yeah.
Didn't they get bopped out of the minor stage 1?
No, they progressed, I'm pretty sure. No?
Yeah. Brother, they started the losers and they lost their first game against C9.
In the minors?
In the minor.
Well, anyways, Estriel, Nero, I'm totally happy with them.
Not that bad. That's more so what it is. In the qualifiers, they have a 69% game win rate. They're like 9-4. So they did really well in the qualifiers, but then they just obviously the final was actually not sorry, they didn't start in losers. There was no losers. I mean, they just lost their first game. It was a single elim, and it was
single elim. Yeah.
So
overall though, I have been impressed with Rocker. You know, I think it's about time that we do see SMG duos now actually look at Simp and Abizi and say, listen, we're gonna dethrone you guys. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that makes the league more like really competitive. And do you know what? The chemistry that Nero and Estriel have. Estriel's on the flanks. Nero's just straight bully in there, gunny. Incredible. I've been so impressed with them. Another team I've been impressed with actually. It's not really a given, but Thieves. They started off pretty slow. Thieves started off pretty slow. People, some people were thinking, this was meant to be the dream roster, the championship roster, blah 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 blah. And they started off really slow, and then they picked it up. And when do you know who a player that's I'm glad he's back on his feet now, because last year he was ass, and it's Envoy. Envoy is going ballistic. He is going absolutely insane. I'm so impressed with the talent, because I feel like a lot of the talent in the league now understood that they didn't have the best of comps last year and stuff, so they're trying to rectify it now. And the thing is, now with the Black Ops 6 mechanics, there's actually a skill gap. So now I think they're actually trying to rectify, you know, the bad tournaments that they may have had previously and stuff. But definitely impressed with Envoy, because I remember last year he said that his controller was broken and all this stuff, and he needs to get a new controller from Scuff or whoever. But yeah, I'm impressed with Envoy, Nero, and Estriel. They're at the moment my top 3 favorite players, and it's funny that they're all SMGs, but
I mean, so are you.
True.
It does make sense. I actually agree as well. I think it's a lot of the unlikely players that we don't look at too tough that I'm impressed with. One for me is Joe Deceives. Like, he's always been really insane at the game, but his lows have been like terrible.
Astronomical.
The floor is bad. When he doesn't play well, it's bad. But he has been so consistent. He's literally like a 1.0, 1.1 across the board in all game modes, right? And overall KD. And he just plays with a lot of confidence. Like Joe Deceives reminds me of like those Abizi types of players that are just like run like in your face first in all the time. But unfortunately, he hasn't always had like anyone to match that energy. So it can look like he just makes stupid plays and gets picked for it, especially in like SMD. But I feel like this Ultra team is solid. Like they are strangely good. Like if you look at them on paper, they don't look amazing, in my opinion anyway, like as a 4. But if you watch their games, like they're like winning grulers against people like 3-2, 3-1, or they're just whitewashing people. The only two that they lost to 0-3 was LA Thieves and Surge, which in my opinion are like 2 of the top 3 teams in the game right now. Nothing to sneeze at, right? Like nothing to get upset with. And they're all kind of sitting across that kind of 1.1, 1.2 KD. But why I'm impressed with them across the board, especially during the season, is because they're being consistent. Like it's very hard to keep that kind of level performance against like every team throughout like the season. And these players in particular have shown to lack consistency, in my opinion, especially like a Kleenex or a Beans or a Joe Deceives. Like it's always been very up and down. So to see them do this against really tough teams as well, I'm like, you know what? I like that we have an upset potential team right now. Like, I feel like they might fit in that 4th, 5th slot of like kind of if we were to rank the teams. And I will name an obvious player and team that's doing really well right now. Of course, Neptune. I have to shout him out because I picked him up when he got introduced into the league. He had one qualifiers, and I said, you know what, this kid's about to be insane. And I did drop TJ Haley, who's also been really good this game. Crazily, shout out to TJ. But Neptune has come and he's actually changed the Surge team. Like the Surge team is ridiculous. I don't know if you don't remember, but I think we spoke about 04 a while back, and we were like, this guy is not the 04 that we first saw him. He was taking over S&Ds and being really consistent in respawns when he first came into the league, and then he just completely dropped off. Like I know Surge was like a bottom 4 team at one point, but I feel like the pacing that Neptune has, and like Warren was saying, it's like almost like a sense of like ego in his gameplay. He will just like pace and match anyone's pace. Like it doesn't matter what SMG duos he's up against. He doesn't care.
He don't care.
I think having that energy brought out Nasty a bit, because Nasty, like a lot of people were saying, I don't know if he was seeing the TL, but a lot of people in challenges were like, bro, from when Nasty's playing well in the CDL, like anyone can. Basically saying like he's not that good. But I think like Nasty's actually a very explosive SMG. Like he's very, very good if he has the right team around him.
Was he not running AR all tournament though?
No, he's the. I don't think so.
We talk about Nasty that was in the finals against Thieves, yeah?
Yeah.
He's an AR, Piggy.
Then again, I don't know. Is he an AR?
He's an AR, yeah.
Brother, I don't know in this game, man. Everyone picks up an AR and an SMG.
Do you know what it is? I was quite disappointed with Nasty actually, because there was a few times in S&D in that finals where he was last. Like to be honest, it's not his fault, because when your team's getting wiped like all together, like everyone's dying at the same time, there's not much you can do about that, I feel like
that wasn't his fault. I'm looking at Neptune. I feel like Neptune actually sold that finals. That'll be real. That game, that game 7.
Oh yeah, was that the zip on Skyline? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I have to allow him because he was crazy in this match.
Yeah, no, he was going nuts. Like he was dropping 30 bombs in hard points for for banter.
Yeah.
You know,
Someone's got to, like, in the comment section, remind me. But I do remember Nasty being at SMG for a lot of his career. So if he's AR now, I don't know if that's a recent change. But
he's probably a flex then, if that's the case.
yeah.
Wait, what does Neptune play as then?
I guess
He's an SMG.
Boozer's an AR. I thought 04 was a flex.
I thought 04 was an AR.
I didn't think 04 was a permanent SMG. That's why I was a bit confused. But like we said, the roles in this game are very weird. Like a lot of the maps that people run free SMGs for free. Like it changes all the time.
Yeah.
But I just mean Nasty as a player, like he gets isolated a lot if he doesn't have like a really confident duo with him. Like, and I feel like he has that in Neptune, because if they were both playing incredible against Thieves, even in finals where they lost, like they were making a lot of really, really clutch plays. And I don't know, it's not just against, Thieves, sorry, they beat FaZe in a game 5, which is a very, very hard series against like arguably the top team in the game right now. And yeah, they're just beating really good teams convincingly, like very, very convincingly. And this is what I'm talking about with consistency. Like, there's a reason why we have the same top 4 teams every flipping year. Because all the other teams can't do this consistently. Like, they look terrible against good teams, and they look good or okay against bad teams. But when you have teams like, Ultra and Surge, who are stealing wins off the top teams and convincingly beating every other team below them, that's how you start to move up. So yeah, I agree with Warriors picks, and yeah, just want to shout out Surge and Neptune, because he's my boy. Get me my points, get me my wins in the fantasy league.
Yeah, indeed.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, look, cat's out of the bag. I'm not having a great time with this fantasy draft, guys. However, I am seeing quite a theme around not just necessarily picks, but it seems like everybody seems to pick up a good free agent or a good pick at some point in this fantasy draft. For instance, our boy JG picked up Hook at a very good time, and we didn't think that was going to happen, and all of a sudden, surprise, it happens. And now Piggy's picked up Neptune. Now, on the other hand of things, I'm quite upset because obviously I'd like my Optic brothers to be doing what I've been seeing them do over the last year, which is winning. But unfortunately for me, this is familiar ground, and there's no Boston breach to kind of blame this time around. So I'm gonna have to go with the fact that maybe I'm gonna have to do a few things as well. I actually think Toronto Ultra didn't do too terrible in terms of a couple of games that I was able to catch in the brief time that I've been obviously like away from content. Say again?
I mean, if they 3-0'd Optic.
Yeah. Why y'all and y'all do that when I got both y'all on the team? So it's just counterproductive, huh? Isn't it? God damn it. Anyway, but yeah, no. I would say that Surge have actually been somewhat the team that I didn't think would surprise me as much. Obviously, I know that Thieves are pretty much talk of the town, especially with their acquisitions during the summer and just seeing how those players are going to gel. But that addition of Neptune obviously has seen quite a big what I'm thinking of, big
ones to watch.
Yeah, because I feel like initially, like I remember when we looked at the subliners last year before they obviously rebranded to Cloud9, and I thought that acquisition of Sib was going to be like they're like almost like solidifying their status in that bracket of competitive nature. But I think what's now happened is it's kind of gone in that direction for Vancouver Surge. So I'd be surprised to see how the rest of the season plays out for them. I'm obviously looking forward to the next major, but ultimately I just want my boys Optics to just kind of sort that shit out. But yeah,
I hear that.
But yeah, I just feel like it's been a very competitive season so far. Like we've seen Thieves have troubles and turn it around. We've seen Optic go through a horrible slump. We saw Surge have a horrible slump and turn it around. And we're kind of just seeing the ebbs and flows of all these teams. C9 had a horrible qualifiers one stage qualifier one. How do I put this? Stage 1 qualifiers like run, because one, the internet was trash, and 2, like Sib was just playing like he had 2 left feet, and he was playing with those 2 left feet. And they are slowly chipping away at the damage that was done. Like I feel like even they're stepping up slightly. They're still not like a top 4 or anything like that, but I feel like they're also kind of getting used to playing together and finding a system that works for them. And I feel like we are in for a really good year if Optics sort their ish out, and if someone just gets rid of all those Falcons players. Because we need to talk about this, right? Now, when I talk about Falcons, I need people to understand the context of why I have so much vim against this team.
Here
It
we
has
go.
nothing to do with Call of Duty. It has everything to do with what I've watched Falcons, Falcons as a brand do in esports ever since the esports World Cup.
Yep.
They have bought some of the best teams in other esports and immediately were like top in all of them. Apex, they bought the best players in Apex straight away. And they're still literally like the best team, even though they didn't win their version of champs. I think they came like second or third. They did the same thing in Tekken. They bought all of these individual gifted players, and there's all these Tekken players that are at the top of their game that were bought by Falcons. But in Call of Duty, they gave us 4 players that weren't even getting top 3 in challenges and said, here you go, here's a league spot. And they've got 0 points. They haven't won a series. We have never seen. I don't think we've ever seen.
Do you know why? What you just said, yeah, is so key because, and it might fly over people's heads, yeah. And the reason why I say that is because Falcons actually their Warzone roster it has Biffle, Hisoka, and I think Shifty.
Yep.
So how do you not replicate that for?
They just said no. They just said, you know what? We just want the spot. We don't really care. We don't really care who plays. Like, to the point where they're like, you know what? If they perform badly, they're just gonna tell Shifty and Hisoka, yo, you know what? You guys wanted to play CDL. Here you go. Yeah, we'll just pay you guys the whole drink. You know what I'm saying? That's actually gross negligence, though. I'm not gonna lie. That's ridiculous.
The players were already playing COD. I think that's the only difference. Like, the players were already playing Call of Duty, and they were already, I believe, in challenges or in whatever version of their challenges was, right? So they probably thought, okay, we already have people here. Maybe it would be bad mind to get a league spot and not bring them with us. Like, I don't know if that was like a family kind of feel aspect. Like, no, we got you, can't. But like, listen, it gets to a point that you have to make a change. I don't think we've ever had a CDL team drop 0 points after, a stage and a half to 2 stages and not make a change. And I don't mean just grab somebody from the 7-man roster that they have and swap them out 3 times. I'm talking about a real, like, get a fresh player in. And it's only starting to, like, not irritate me, but it's like, it makes all their matches really boring.
Yeah, because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, you're not really going to see much from them as well because, like, I won't lie to you. I'm not trying to, like, shit on Falcons or anything. Like, I know they're new and stuff, but they have been making some very, very skeptical, questionable plays, you know? Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know in it, but sometimes I feel like if they get a kill on Shotzi, like the adrenaline rush just goes through all of them, and all of a sudden it's like they want to just go gun ho at everyone. It's like, guys, we need a bit of composure here. Okay, I know you just killed Shotzi, I know you killed Dashi or whatever, but a bit of composure, please. Yeah, like that's my interpretation of how they've played so far. So to reiterate, it seems to me that when they get the odd 1 or 2 kills on certain players, I think they just get a bit overexcited and then they start making weird plays.
They are very passionate. They celebrate certain things, like, and this is not towards the actual players. I literally just feel like they got brought into something they weren't ready for. They are all very talented, mechanically gifted players. You drop any of them in a 8, like a pro 8s, and they're holding their own. But what's the difference? They're not playing together. They're playing with 3 other people who are seasoned and experience in playing in this type of environment. So I feel like what would have actually been better for them is for them to almost split into different teams, if that was even possible, and each of them to have, like, I don't know, a mentor or someone who's been obviously in the game. I know they had their coaches Clayster, but the man can't jump on the sticks with them, and do you know what I'm saying? Like, he can't play with them during these matches, but they need that. Like, all of these individual players could probably flourish if they were, like, spread in other teams throughout these other 11. Together, they're not making waves. Like, I'll call it from now. They are finishing 12th by the end of the year. They're finishing 12th. Like, I don't even see LAG dropping below them, and LAG's only got 20 points. They're not.
LAG will get back on it, I'm sure. Well, I know they'll be above Falcons, and just another point as well. Yeah. I remember, I think it was Shotzi, but don't quote me though, but I think it was Shotzi that was saying that when they find out that they're scrimming Falcons, no one wants to play because they don't see it as an actual scrim. They don't see it as, oh, we're
a challenge
to get better or challenge. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And that's bad, by the way. That's terrible because every team in the league deserves their respect. Do you know what I'm saying? You earned to be here. Do you know what I'm saying? So the fact that there's the whole league agrees that they don't see Falcons as a challenge is bad. bad. Like that is bad.
I didn't agree with that. I hated it when that came out. And I heard that people were actually refusing to scrim them. I was thinking, listen, as soon as you sign up to play in a league, it doesn't matter how bad a team is. Like, you should just scrim everybody because that's
scrim everyone. Yeah,
who it is. That part of it crazy to me because really that's the only thing that's actually going to make them better, to make it more of a competitive league. Like I said, and this is why I keep saying I don't blame any of the players. I actually blame the org. I think it's really, really, really irresponsible of the org themselves. You're ruining these players' stocks. No one's going to want to team with them after this because they're not seeing any results. Like, you were better off keeping them in challenges and maybe getting people from the league, whether it's like coaches or players, to maybe mentor them and help them through challenges to build a name, and then releasing a Vegas Falcons team that has maybe been in that kind of in that same ecosystem for a while, maybe a year or two. To just put them in there like this, it's an embarrassment and a mockery of the league. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so sorry.
I would have even. I feel like it's also an opportunity. I say, as bad as it is, I also think there's an opportunity to actually document this. Like, I say that in the sense of like a team coming into the league the way that they have, they should more or less have all the support necessary in order for them. Maybe these players aren't that bad, or maybe they just have a as educated of an understanding of what needs to be done to perform at the highest level, and the sort of utilities or factors that obviously can come into place in regards to how to help mitigate or at least close the gap can be used. But at the same time, I feel like it's also like, I know we have like Optic when they have like their own process, or like recording, being able to record what goes on behind the scenes in a sense. I think that gives a bit of an insight on how hard it is, but also like being able to kind of also look at it from a perspective of these players were here day one or here period one, and we're now 2 or 3 years into the space, and like, cool, this is the difference, you know? So as much as it can be like, look, performance wise, things are not where they want it to be right now, and I think Falcons probably need to look at it and think that's to be expected because of the pool of players you picked from, or effectively how you decided to kind of put this together. There's an opportunity there to kind of actually try something, you know what I mean? But I can't say I'm too much against Piggy's point, because there's a line, there's a thin line of doing things in the right way or doing things in a way in which can anger quite a few, or effectively like, that's like, okay, so like how you brought the point up in regards to Optic and them not seeing Falcons as much of a challenge, that can also have a psychological effect on Optic in terms of how they perform against another team. You know, like they have to get it done if they might not play to the best of their ability, and they need to actually be on 99 or 100 at all times, or there shouldn't necessarily be a period where they look at it and think, oh, I don't have to try my hardest. You know what I mean?
3-1 them in minor 2 and then got 3-0'd by Ultra.
There you go.
It's like, you beat Falcons, that doesn't fix your problems. You have the same issues.
Yeah. I think teams actually will probably look at Falcons and say, all right, this is where we rectify our mistakes, and then we kick on from there. I think that's what most teams logically would think.
That's sad.
It is. But
this is meant to be like competitive. And people are not taking them seriously. Like, it is a bit embarrassing, to be honest.
Even at LAG, some teams still look at that like, you know what, we should beat them, but at the same time, let's not relax too much, because there's some good players on LAG. You know, so it's we'll see in it. I'm really intrigued for Major 2. I really can't wait to watch this.
Yeah, I think that I kind of like this whole minor 2 thing. You know, I really do. Yeah. I like because teams. I think like players, teams, whatever, they're gonna take these more seriously. Like, this is where you go back to the drawing board. You get a bit of a comp, like of the minor, and then you go back to the drawing board and you just rectify what the mistakes and stuff and blah blah. Like, I was shocked to see FaZe crash out, to be honest. I thought they were gonna win that. So it just goes to show, like, regardless if you're at the top, bottom, everyone's got stuff to work on.
Which I think
everyone.
But I think this actually just goes back to the fact that it was actually quite a W concept to actually introduce minors this year. Because I think when you look back at the time, they were talking about how to effectively, like, how things were going to change from a competitive perspective, and what they expect teams to how they expect teams to perform in both the majors as well as the smaller tourneys. And if anything to go by, like, of course you have your qualifiers and they can be one thing, but those minors are also just as important as majors at this point. So if your mindset and your desire to win is the exact same, then you'll see the results out of it by a major.
It's like a mock exam.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, like it's like a bucket. The only difference is it's not double elim, but
No.
it's like the way that tournaments are even structured. It's like, yeah, you're getting into that mindset of if we beat this team, we go into this team, you got to plan ahead for this team because we got to see who's at the end of the bracket. It's like you're literally preparing for what you're going to do, and it's like, okay, what went wrong in our method? And it's like you can really replicate it like for like in the major because you just came off a tournament. It's a lot easier than going from like qualifiers and then boom, major. Double elim,
literally.
You know, traveling.
There's too much of a gap between as well. I say there's too much of a gap, but there's a substantial amount of gap between all three. I think when you've done your qualifiers or you've done your minors, like cool, like you kind of like this. I think that's kind of enough time to kind of look at it and sense, have you addressed the smaller issues before going on to the bigger stage, and then if you've done that, then it's a matter of, I think there's an element of psychology you need to kind of inherit. You need to kind of be determined and have a can-do attitude. But more importantly, you've also got to be able to be like, look, we've been here before. Let's just perform where we can, and hope to see how things kind of play out for us. Because in a grand scheme of things, like teams like the Falcons or LAG or like Vegas in the past, or even Ravens, like they've all had their fair share of disappointment to an extent. But I think the difference is like they will then come back and at least show why they deserve to be there in the first place.
Which is what they did when Claystar was it Modern Warfare 3?
Yeah.
Do you remember that little run they had with him and what's the other guy's name?
Gwyn.
Gwyn,
Teach.
Is it Fellow? Is his name Fellow?
He was on the team for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah. I totally agree with that point. I think it was also as well, I just want to say, Frios, when we see a Frio, right, normally it's kind of like,
pass the pad. No, I'm playing.
No, what am I trying to say? Okay, so I'll say this season, I think Frios are like, you actually see the gap between teams, whereas Frios that I've seen in previous, like in the CDL league and stuff, is like that Frio could be a fluke because the team's just playing absolutely crap. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not the fact that you was really good. It's just the fact that team was really bad.
Maybe they just didn't show up that day.
Whereas in Black Ops 6 now, when a team gets 3-0'd, I truly think that team has been gapped. Now, that's not always the case, That's not always the case because Optic have been 3-0'd before, but that doesn't mean that they've been gapped on a skill level. It just means that they were utterly just bad that day, So I think it definitely is hand in hand, but I think in Black Ops 6, just Black Ops 6 alone, I think we do when we do see a 3-0, I think like it's a statement, That's just what I believe, at least anyway. Because the previous 3-0s just look like flukes sometimes. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
But yeah, that should be good. The fantasy league will continue on. This is going to be our last stage. After qualifiers, we got the major, and then we got a new fantasy league to start after that. And it should be good. I think everybody was not expecting what's currently happening with their teams exactly. It's not saying it's been very up and down for everyone, very very close matches, some blowouts, but team.
Yeah. You see what she did there? You see what she did there?
Man. You got to the client,
bro. February 14th, 10-1. Bro, did you even put players on your thing? Like, what the hell?
I don't know what happened, dog.
And you both had Optic plays. That's what's bad. So basically. It was JG's Insight and Snoopy just outplaying Attaching Linux.
Hey, bro.
That's what it weren't even about. But it happens. It definitely keeps this really, really interesting. I do want to add more people to this every time we do it.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I think it keeps our eyes on other players that we might not always watch as closely because we do have our favorite teams and we have our favorite players.
Yeah.
But this has really helped me as well, specifically to look at other people that I wouldn't really pay attention to, like people like Beans and Awakening. I've been locked into their gameplay because I've been, and adding that extra like competitiveness between each other is always a good time. So we keep it going. We keep worrying in first right now.
Yeah, where did I finish? I finished third. I finished third last season.
You're first right now.
Yeah, first right now.
I don't want to talk about placement right now. I'm just gonna look forward to the next major, guys. It's definitely I say a baptism of fire when it comes to this fantasy league. I just know I gotta pay a bit more attention to it. That's all good. I'll be back. I always come back.
Your team's not even bad. Your team's not bad. It's just that the players are letting you down. That's all. Like you've got 2 Optic players. That's you got a Shotzi and a Kenny. That's strong. That's a strong 2 players there. Well, on paper, it's a strong 2 players. You know, so they're letting you down, man. But let's just hope that that continues. You know what I'm saying?
You see. You really be your own. You really be your own.
Hey, I want to win. I can't.
I hear it.
I want to win this.
I hear it. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, that more or less wraps up today's episode. By all means, if y'all do enjoy this content, like I said, drop the subscription. You know, just subscribe down there somewhere. Of course, make sure you're locked into both Piggy and Warren on their channels separately. They've got some crazy content. Well, I know everyone's kind of gearing towards Assassin's Creed Shadows. A bit of Monster Hunter Wilds over here, over this channel as well. But yeah, look, all things April 3rd and CDL related, y'all know what to do. Hit that follow, hit that subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Guys.
Take it easy.